Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the winning workshop recording on how to ace the interview. Today, we're going to be talking about turning the job interview into a job offer. So first up, we want to talk about why someone would go to a job interview. Typically, the answer to this question is that they're going to get the job offer. However, that's sort of short-sighted. Yes, we are going to a job interview to get a job offer. We understand that and we agree. However, the more often you go to a job interview, the better you will be about being interviewed. So with that understanding, we need to realize that the more times we go to a job interview, the better we'll be at acing the job interview, which means the more times we'll get a job offer. So if we go with that mindset, every single time that we get an opportunity to interview for a position, we should say yes, just to the interview. That way we can get better with interviewing, whether we really want the position or not. It's always good to get more interview experience. Why did the company invite you for an interview? Typically, the answer to this is they invited you for an interview because they're needing to hire someone, which is true. They are needing to hire someone, but we need to understand that the company is really shopping around to find the best candidate, and they're shopping around through interviewing people. So the more people that they're interviewing, the likelier they are that they're going to find the best candidate out of all the applicants to fit their need. So during this interview process, how do you show the company, the interview committee, or the hiring committee that you're the best candidate? Well, you can do that a few ways. The first step is review your toolkit. What do you have that you're bringing to the table that can fill the need, that can help them and show them that you're the best candidate? And how you can review your toolkit, you can do it through a number of different ways, but you want to make sure that you review your resume and your cover letter. You submitted these things with your application when you applied for the position. So you want to make sure you review those resumes and your cover letter so that you can make sure you have refreshed your mind of what you wrote in your resume and what you listed in your cover letter, because they obviously liked that information or they wouldn't have invited you for the interview. So review those documents that you submitted with your application. You can remember what you wrote, and then you can speak to those things in your interview. You also want to make sure that you think of a time you had to juggle multiple projects, showed customer service skills, and took a leadership role. You could also think about a time you worked with a team, maybe you worked with multiple parties, or you handled a customer service issue well. Any of those things are good to remember, because typically in an interview, they'll ask you questions about experiences where you showed that you helped in these ways. So if you have thought about those opportunities or those experiences that you've had previously, it'll be easier for you to speak to those things in the interview. So you want to think to those things ahead of time to be prepared. You also want to make sure that you research the company. And researching the company is actually fairly easy nowadays because of the internet. So we have readily available information at our fingertips. We can bring it up on our iPhones, we can bring it up on the computer. We have multiple ways to check out a company. You want to check out its website, and typically on a website there are going to be multiple pages, right? There's not just a one main page for a company. So you'll want to go through the different pages and read the information that's listed on its website, not just on the main page. You want to review their social media accounts. You can look to their Twitter, their Instagram. LinkedIn is also another great social media resource for companies. Most companies on LinkedIn will also state their hiring manager. So not only are you wanting to get information for when you're interviewing, but if you're also looking for a job, looking at LinkedIn and their social media accounts for a company is a great resource because you can contact your HR manager through LinkedIn. You also want to make sure that you Google them. A lot of things might not be listed on their website or on their social media accounts. It could be in a newspaper listing that's been written online, or maybe someone did an interview, they interviewed the CEO, and you can see the interview online on a Google link. So there's some great resources available for you to research the company. And some people might think this is not necessary, but we actually recently had a student who came by the WIN who scheduled a mock interview with me, and I helped him prepare for a mock interview with Target. He had applied for a Target position, and he was very nervous as he'd never done an interview before. And after the mock interview, I asked him during the mock interview process, I asked him what he knew about the company. And he didn't really have a good solid answer for this question. And so I helped him afterward walk through some of the different ways to research a company and these are the steps and tricks that I gave him. And in the social media account, we noticed that they were starting a new initiative with their car delivery service. I don't remember the name of it, but basically through that, we were able to find out that new initiative, and he actually mentioned that in his interview, that he knew about this new car side pickup service that they were doing at Target. And because he researched the company, he was able to speak to that and say how he would love to be a part of that new initiative for their customers. And Target really liked that answer. And so he then shared with me that he got the position, which is great news. So researching the company does have its benefits. We highly recommend it, and you should do it before your interview. You also want to make sure that you practice your interview skills. You want to search general and specific interview questions on the internet. Google, again, is a great tool for this. You can ask general questions when it comes to the interview, or search general questions that someone could ask you. But let's say you know the specific job that you're going to be going in for. You also should check to see if they have any specific questions online about that specific position. You can then print those answers or those questions off, and then you can run through them with your family and friends. I also would recommend practice answering those questions in front of a mirror. This might sound really ridiculous and probably also uncomfortable when you're going through this practice, but it's really helpful because it helps you see how you're visually answering the question, also maybe how you're delivering your facial expressions or your nonverbal cues. So you want to make sure that you're delivering the information non-verbally as well as verbally. And so practicing answering interview questions in front of a mirror is a really helpful tool as well. Lastly, we recommend that you can schedule mock interview practice at the WIN Center. We have multiple ways that you can contact the WIN Center, and I'll share that information with you at the end of this slide, at the end of this presentation. But you can call the WIN Center at any time, 559-925-3388, to schedule this mock interview. We have a few tips that we've collected for students when it comes to acing the interview. There are 5 tips. So the first one, tip 1, is understanding that interviewers don't like interviewing. Every single time that I have been on an interview committee or an interview panel, there's always a sense of, oh man, we have to do these interviews. And the reason for that is because you have to understand that a company is short-staffed. They are in need, and they do not have enough staff to meet the need that they have, which is why they're hiring someone. They're going through these interview processes. So understanding that the interview committee, each interviewer has work that they have back at their desk that they could be getting done instead of doing this interview, but they're not. They're doing these interviews because there's need, and this is the only way for them to fill that need appropriately. So know that just like you're uncomfortable and don't like going through interview processes, you're not alone. The interviewer is probably also not really enjoying the interview process either. Tip 2, knowing that the interview is not about you. The interview, the purpose of the interview is about meeting the needs of the company or the organization. They have a need that's not being met, and they're trying to find the best candidate to meet that need and make sure that their organization or their company is the most successful. That's the whole point of the interview. So know that it's not about you. Don't overanalyze yourself. Don't question how you're coming across. Just do the best you can and know that they're looking for the best candidate. And the best thing that you can do is show them how you are the best candidate. Tip 3, be enthusiastic about the opportunity. Typically, when there's a job opening, there will be multiple applicants, tons of applicants even, and most applicants will have a similar background. If there's an HR position that someone's looking for, or if there's a position in accounting, typically accountants will apply for accounting position, or people with HR experience or interest in HR will apply for an HR position. So typically the applicant pool is very kind of similar. Most people that would be applying for a position are very similar. So when you think about it that way, the best thing that you can do when you are up against candidates that have very similar education and backgrounds that you do, the thing that can tip it in your favor would be you being enthusiastic and excited about the opportunity. I know that most organizations, when they come in and they have an interview with someone who is excited to work with them, excited to be a part of the team, excited to be a part of the work that they're doing in the community. That's huge. Anyone would want to bring on someone new to their team who is excited to do the work. So if you can be excited and enthusiastic about the opportunity, then you're already one step ahead of everyone else who isn't, or at least isn't showing that enthusiasm and excitement. Tip 4, ask for more information when you get the interview invitation. Typically, most people, when they get the interview call, they say, thank you, okay, when is it, what's the time, and they write all that stuff down, and then they end the call. But actually asking some questions, some specific questions during that interview invitation call is key to also making sure that you're prepared for that interview. Some of the questions that I ask is, how many people will be interviewing me? I also ask what their names and their roles are, their titles are in the organization. I also ask, how soon or early do I need to be there, whether it's 10 minutes ahead of schedule, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. And then I also plan an additional 15, 20 minutes on top of that. And just to make sure that I'm not late when it comes to traffic, or it gives me a little wiggle room if for some reason I hit all the red lights on my way to that interview site. Giving myself a little bit of an extra time buffer helps me stay calm. It also helps me have time to review my information, my resume, cover letter, my interview questions that I practiced with, even the job description. It gives me a little bit of time extra to practice that information in the parking lot of where I'm getting interviewed. And that way, when I walk into that interview, I know I'm prepared and I feel confident in being prepared because I did the preparation not only days ahead of time, but I also did it right before I walked into the building. Tip 5, be prepared in practice. So the more prepared you are and the more times you practice, the more comfortable you will be when it comes to being interviewed. And preparation and practice isn't just the things that I've talked about just now in this workshop, but it's also about how you prepare yourself personally, which means dressing for success. You want to make sure that the day before your interview, you have your outfit picked out, you know what clothes you're going to wear, they're washed. I would recommend that you iron them as well. I recommend you take a shower the day before or the morning of your interview, just so that you feel confident and prepared in how you present yourself to the interview committee. All of those things make sure that you set yourself up for success. Not only dressing for success and being prepared, but that you also feel confident in yourself and you feel confident that you're the best candidate for the job. I would love to go over more of this with you in depth and have it be specific to what your needs are, what jobs you're wanting to interview for. We can do that all for you at the WIN Center. Here's our phone number, 559-925-3388. We are available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we would love to meet with you to go over more of this information. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this recording, and we can't wait to talk with you further about acing the interview. Thank you.